Okay. Thank you so much, Nitish, for joining me today. Hello, everyone. Today, I want to welcome my guest, Nitish Kumar, who is the AI team lead at ISRO, and he would be talking about AI mostly in this interview and also job market in India in general. So, welcome, my guest, Nitish. Over to you, Nitish. Tell me about yourself. How are you today?
So, hello to everyone watching this. And first of all, thank you, Pravina, for having me. We have been trying to meet for a long time. Finally, we have done it. So that's great. So yeah, it's a very good time, to talk about AI. And I think there has been enough penetration at all levels in the job market. And I think it's very interesting times for people in AI right now. There's a lot of, what I would say is the constructive chaos right now that is happening.
Yeah, so my first question, since you talked about how constructive chaos around AI is going on, would you like to share would people should be scared of that chaos who are not working in AI, or they should take that change in a very constructive manner?
Yeah, so I think this is a since we have gone into technology, and the economy is shaped by technology, which can be roughly said to be 200 years. This question has been prevalent, almost all the time.
Mhm.
This is a very relevant question at all stages. So I think if you look at the history, whether it was the mechanization and the coal industry or the first industrial revolution, and then the nuclear and the electrical power boom, and the third industrial revolution was IT. Same question has come, and the answer would be very much, I would say, the same. Definitely, people will benefit from the technological change. How much they will benefit will depend on the stage at which they adopt it, the rate at which they are able to adopt it, and the expertise they are able to develop in it. So the early adopters will have to face more risk and therefore higher gains.
Mhm.
Those who adopt it later on will have well laid out path, and they know what to do. The industry standards are already established, and so the risk is less, and obviously the gains will be less. So I would rather say it is very much along all other changes, and there is technology always brings what we call as a creative destruction, right? So that creative destruction AI is going to bring, and I think we should all prepare for it, and I would rather say that we should all contribute to it in a good way.
Yeah, thank you. I totally get it. And when we talk about AI, which field do you think would be greatly and vastly impacted by AI currently?
Yeah, so I think so. Let's look at this in a more holistic manner. So till now, whatever technology has done is automate what I call as sensory or muscle activities of the human. So
Mhm.
most of the work that is counted as economic work, right, is either about moving things or making decisions. There are two basic things into which you can divide all kinds of work, right?
Mhm.
So moving things was something that machines were excellent at, and you have more power and more, and somehow we are shifting towards more intelligent machines all the way, right? So now we are at that stage where making decisions, maybe through data driven AI that we are having right now, we can make reasonably good decisions that can be replicated. It can replicate human decisions, is what I would like to put it as. And this is like a first in the juncture of technology development. And this is important because it will have consequences at the level which other automation was not having, which
Mhm.
means it will affect the simple decision making jobs, right? Which involve what I would say is simple cognitive activities like recording things, reproducing textual things, identifying some images and making that decision. So these are the jobs which are currently that AI can do relatively good. In fact, in some cases better than humans also, right?
Mhm.
However, the whole job economy and job structure is currently based around humans, right? So even if you have an AI, in most of the jobs, you might need a human authority to sign it or authorize it before you can actually use it. So there is going to be some time before which we will see this what I would call as replacing humans, but it is gonna be gradual and at least more gradual than what people think. So that would be the layer that would be first affected is the organized mental activities job, which AI can replicate right now. So yeah, that would be the first thing that would be affected, and slowly maybe it will go higher up in the hierarchy. However, those jobs where people take up responsibility, right, like managers and directors and so on, they are still not to be replaced, with AI because AI as such cannot take responsibility. So I think there is a cultural or organizational defense that our job structure already has against AI. So it's not that much to worry about, but pretty exciting because you can have AI at your help. It can be assistive AI right now is what I'm thinking is going to be the immediate thing in the job market.
Yes, but listening to your answer, I really should make comment that it feels really scary at the moment. I think for the people who work on data analysis field and consultancy field and those kind of field where the job hours would decrease if we use AI, and that would definitely uh, um, remove a lot of jobs. So it's a bit scary in the beginning when we look at it, but I think there would be different like
Yeah,
solutions to
so
it. I think that's I
no,
hope.
I understand the question, and thank you for putting it up because I think I answered only the half of it. So the second half, is about. I don't think that it is actually something to be feared because uh, you are paid, right? Not in terms of how many hours you work. That's a very rudimentary, because many people work same hours, but the salaries are different.
Mhm.
So it is because of the value that you produce,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
Now with AI, your productivity goes very high. So
Yes.
it is definitely that your number of hours are going to reduce, but I don't think your salary check is going to look worse. So that way it's very enabling, right?
Yeah.
Uh, Definitely new jobs are going to come up. A new type of economy will provide new opportunities, right? And there are going to be a whole group of pioneers and entrepreneurs who are going to benefit around it. Coming to people who are afraid of losing their current jobs,
Mhm.
yeah, I think if today's world, right, in
24.
2024, yeah,
Yeah.
I remember it. So in 2024, if we are thinking that we'll do one job with one skill for the rest of our lives, I think that's not a great idea to carry around. And I think people should take it very positively rather than negatively that your jobs are going. In fact, I would like to profess, that 20 to 30 years down the line, I seriously feel people will work for only, 5 to 10 years of their lifetime. And they will have enough, to spend their whole life. So, because the human productivity today in 2000s is 500 times more than it was in medieval times. Like if we go 400 years back, our
Mhm.
productivity today is so much higher. We can do so much more in 1 hour,
Mhm.
right? So that way, I think from that point of view, I feel that uh, this fear.
Mhm.
I would like to quote Michael Crichton here
Mhm.
from his
I
book
don't
State
think.
of Play.
Yeah.
Michael Crichton is the author of like a lot of good books like Disclosure and Jurassic Park, and he has written this book State of Fear, which I read I think a decade back, but I remember it. He said that humans will always find something to be afraid of. So, so I think
Yeah.
it is if you think it through,
Mhm.
it is obviously a big change, but I think humans have enough capability to make the most of it. So I would reassure everyone that okay, it's going to be great actually.
Yeah, I would take your words on that. So I would like to ask you one question on that, that how did you actually um, start learning about AI? What was your first step, and how from like your degree you came to learning AI? And because your major is in avionics, I
Yeah,
have seen,
yeah.
but
My bachelor's is in avionics. Yeah.
yes. So would you highlight your journey, and how did you transition from there, and how did you start learning about AI?
Yeah, so definitely, and I think that's pretty nice for me even to think about it.
Mhm,
So after I had done my bachelor's, one of my professors from IST actually called me to the college to solve a problem for a person who was working in physics. So it was a physics problem to be
mhm,
solved using optimization, and
mhm,
they wanted to reconstruct the light rays from a star which was being diffracted
mhm,
um, using some fractal lenses. I don't remember the physics details, so excuse me for that. But I remember I was so amazed at the ability of simple optimization algorithms that they can actually reconstruct the light which has been, what I would say is scattered, right? So you are not supposed to see something because it has already been reflected and scattered, but they were able to capture that back and construct the real image.
mhm,
And that was something so intriguing, and I think I realized that, okay, this is something really powerful. Like, if this comes into the picture, you can actually see around the corners,
mhm, mhm,
and you are thinking that nobody can see you, but they can actually see you by reconstructing your image. So
mhm,
that was so profoundly that had such a profound impact on me that I was always thinking about it since the time I worked on it, right?
mhm,
Later on, I had a very good friend and a roommate for a short while from IIT Kanpur,
mhm,
who was from mathematics and computing, and we got into a lot of discussions about optimizations, and he was into a bit into data science.
mhm,
So we both kind of jumped into AI later on, full
mhm,
time, and yeah, I think gradually I fell in. I was very fascinated with AI. I
mhm.
cannot explain why, but yeah, this is how it went.
Yeah. So as you said, that you were asked from your professor that about that physics problem. So were you like, were you involved in a lot of interdisciplinary courses and projects at in your undergraduate time, or did you take up on other projects other than your degree?
Yeah, so the structure at the pedagogy designed at Indian Institute of Space Science and Technology is pretty interdisciplinary itself because it contains a bit of aerospace, a bit of computer science, bit of electrical for avionics people. So that's quite we are never on the wrong foot even in various degrees of disciplines. So
Mm-hmm.
that was something they were preparing us for, and I was very interested in doing new things at IST. I think that was one of the reasons he called me up, and actually, I was back at IST last week. He had called me again to give a lecture on the same.
Oh,
So yeah,
nice.
so I think it was more of that both of the things
No.
right there. But yeah, it is quite an interdisciplinary curriculum there.
Yes. So, if you would like to share, like your point of view, on getting into IAST, how does it work? Like, which exam do you pass, and how do you start for entrance exam of IAST?
Yeah, pretty much like you, Pravina, we had to go through the IIT JEE, which
Yeah.
is like the one of the most famous and most appeared exams, if I can say that, for engineering aspirants particularly. And at my time, there was a separate exam for IST. Now I think the selection is through JEE Advanced, right?
Okay.
And so it is pretty much similar to IITs. And the higher you are up in the rank list, the more probability you have. So at our time, they had a separate paper, and I appeared for that paper, and I got into IST. So that's how the journey started there.
Yes. So, the fun fact is, I was about to actually, because my rank was somewhere little bit like, I would not say I
Let
wasn't
us let
able to
us not
get.
discuss.
Yeah,
Let us not discuss the ranks
my
there.
rank, but I didn't have very good rank in JE. That's why we were looking into IST. My brother suggested maybe I should still fill up the form, and I sent it. But fortunately, I was meant to be in IIT Kharagpur, so that happened. But I really
No, but I would
like.
like to say this thing that here that I joined what is now IIT Dhanbad, and I had actually submitted my fees there, and there was something in me since I was a child that I wanted to become a scientist. So when I got the call from IST, I knew that if I don't go there, you know, I will always feel that I have not been true to my what I have been saying since I was a kid, and that was something that was good enough for me to take the plunge. I remember that taking the train to Trivandrum, which is a very long journey, so I had a lot of time to think about it. But I always felt that this is a journey I have to take because there was a lot of run up for me, at least, to be a scientist. I was very interested in that since I was a kid. So
And
yeah, that was the inner side of the story. Yeah.
yeah, I would definitely agree. Like your whatever you manifest or you really love, somewhere your like destiny puts you there. Like if you really like have in yourself. So maybe I didn't have in myself that thing, or maybe I was meant to be in biotechnology, which I didn't know anything about back then. But that's how it is. So I would like to ask you another question. What do you think? What does it take to be a scientist at ISRO? Um, what
Yeah.
sort of application you have to make, because it's one of the biggest space like organization in India, and it's very recognized. And how did you go about it? What was like your application process? How did you get recruited there?
Yeah, so for me, because I'm from IST, I might not be the best person to answer this for a large number of the audience. But because IST people don't actually have to fill even a single form, they are absorbed into ISRO because the Indian Institute of Space Science and Technology is a college of Department of Space. So basically, it is funded by Department of Space, and we are on scholarship,
Mhm,
and so we have to join ISRO. So that way it was pretty much decided from the time I joined my college that I would be joining ISRO. For the second question, what it takes to be a scientist, I think there are a lot of tests that you have to go through over time, which
mhm,
I did not realize in the beginning, and these tests are of which I would call very subtle tests of patience,
mhm,
of being very humble, which is
mhm,
the culture at ISRO. People are very down to earth and they're very open to ideas.
mhm,
And I think working with them for a decade, I have slowly now I am understanding a lot of things. That is, still I'm discovering a lot of things which are very great about ISRO. And obviously, uh, it demands a lot of hard work. We as an organization are very very accurate. Uh, we do one of the best due diligence about any technology in the world. So that way we have to be very patient about developments. And although the deadlines are very steadfast and they're very strict, however, we never skimp on compromising on any of or compromise on any aspects of the technology. So that's where the scientist or engineer has to be very patient.
mhm,
It has to be a lot of teamwork,
mhm,
and it has to be a lot of small subtle things that makes you more and more, I think, I would say, a better human being as well. So yeah, I think for the people who join in the first year or second year for ISRO things, I did not understand a lot of things. Over
mhm.
the time, I'm getting a lot of experience, and it's a very beautiful journey, which might seem difficult at times, and I think we have to go through it. Yeah.
Yes. So, on that, I want to ask what other kind of people you meet while you are at job. So you came from IIST, which and that paved a direct path to ISRO for you. But what other people can join ISRO as scientists or
Yeah.
in other teams?
Yeah, so I- ISRO is a very active recruiter, and we have a lot of new opportunities. I think if you check the ISRO's official website, and there is a recruitment board which is called ICRB, which is the recruitment board for ISRO, and they conduct examinations and then interviews. I'm not a great person to consult on these examinations, but I've heard the interviews are pretty thorough.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and look for very basic clarity on these things. Uh, However, I think anybody who loves studying what they're studying and are really good at their field would definitely do well in ISRO and get into ISRO as well. And on the type of people I meet in office, it's actually a very range of diverse set of scientists that we get to meet, and we also meet a lot of professors that we work with, and a lot of people from industry that we work with from various disciplines. So one of the particularly fascinating things about ISRO is uh, the forenoon meeting is about totally something about physics or quantum or something, and the afternoon meeting is totally about AI or totally something different. And every meeting you is something you are challenged and you are looking forward to. So that's like very exciting part of it, um, and you get to learn a lot from so many great minds there.
Yeah, that's very interesting, and that's how your workplace should be. So, I would like to ask you because last year I was in Bangalore and we just had achieved very great milestone for India and for ISRO in Bangalore. So, would you like to share any good memory about that moment, or like how did it feel to be part of that success?
Yeah, so like it was, there are some moments that are so good that you actually don't remember those moments.
Yes.
uh, Kind of a huge, I don't really recall a lot of things, but I remember being, everybody was so overwhelmed and it was so, full of energy. And I think it was really something, I would say, top of the, world, I would say, but it was top of the moon, basically. At least it was, right? Literally speaking. So it was obviously great. And to have seen, and worked with people, on this mission who have actually done so much for this mission. It was great to see it, come to fruition, and execution was perfect. And I think like we all of us know the feeling, because as a team somehow, maybe it was a basketball match or a volleyball match, we all of us know that how much each one has gone through.
Yeah.
And that was that just that feeling multiplied maybe 100 times. That was the
Yeah.
feeling at that time for all of us. I think it took everybody a moment to realize what has been done. I felt I felt that actually, the consequence of this is like that.
Yes, so a follow up on that actually. So I'm not very aware of space science, and a lot of people who are like me, who have totally different expertise, they don't know the impact of that kind of success and what does it lead to, and what are we setting space stations for. So those kind of questions I wanna ask you, like because you are the expert on that, and who can be the better person to explain uh, about
So
that.
that's absolutely a great question. I would like to do my best to answer it. I think that's very legit question. So absolutely, I think we have to look at the larger picture here. So
Mm-hmm.
the whole, first of all, um, there are some technological progress,
Mm-hmm.
technologies that lead to immediate economic gains or immediate benefits to society. There
Mm-hmm.
are some technological pursuits that have a higher purpose. Like
Mm-hmm.
one of the questions that is very central to the existence of humans, beings, is another question: Who am I? From where am I? And how they're curious naturally about the world around them, right? And we actually, the space organizations and space scientists, for that matter, cater to such curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
We try to answer to the best things about astronomy, things about space. And obviously in that attempt, a lot of new technologies are developed, and there are spin-offs which lead to a lot of benefits to the people at large. However, I would like to point out the incidents that happened, particularly as I was if you remember, in the 1960s, we have read about it, is the first female flew, Valentina Tereshkova went into space in 1963, and 1969 people went to the moon. This, if you notice, the whole environment revolution, that climate change and other things has actually happened in the early 70s. In 1972, we had the Earth Summit, right, which was attended by a lot of people. In fact, Indira Gandhi attended as head of state for India, which was the first time that at a global scale, people recognize the problem of climate change. Now, why is it so? In my opinion and my analysis, I feel it was because we had the image of Earth from space and people saw it. And that one image changed the perspective about our whole existence. That it's a blue marble that you can see in a picture, and a blue looking marble. And that's it. That's it. And that's not visible if you live on the surface of the earth. It
Yes.
seems flat, infinite, doesn't seem that vulnerable. It doesn't seem that, fragile. But if
Yeah.
you can lock it in one picture, that totally changes the perception. And that's why the 1970s started this whole environmental, activities. So I believe there are a lot of changes that are pushed after you get to know about them through space technology. Right, the whole space science has led to this ionosphere thing, which is used for broadcasting and other things. And obviously, there are benefits of seeing things from the top, seeing things at the larger scale. Right, those are the obvious things that people know about: weather prediction, disaster management. Cyclone prediction in India has improved so much, and number of casualties have gone down so much, particularly in the eastern coast. So yeah, I think space science has a huge role to play in that. But as I mentioned, it has a huge role in playing. It plays a huge role in serving to our consciousness. The questions that we have. In fact, space science is the only answer to any catastrophe that could possibly happen on Earth and threatens consciousness. Then we have to go to some other place, and all these space efforts will yield to that. However, it is only human, as PG Bhose has written, that it is only human to think about the only nearest and shortest comfort and needs, and not about the long term consequences of anything. So I think that's why this question is prevalent, but I think it is very essential to understand the whole universe, for that matter. I think that broadens and gives more meaningful, or rather more informed life, I think, on Earth would be the appropriate word. Yeah.
Yes, like it is so beautiful. If I really like when we used to watch Shaktiman, right? Like whatever universe knowledge we had is from Shaktiman. If I wanna put in layman terms, so really like it's so fascinating to know about the stars, to know about other than just Earth, and to as you said, it's you have put so beautifully like everything. It feels like knowing that there are other planets same as Earth, similar to Earth, not same as Earth, but where we can like flee to in time of need if we are ever in danger on Earth. But that's like a very far future thing.
No,
So
also the fact that there are many planets, but they are not great. In fact, they are horrible compared to Earth. So that kind of helps us appreciate Earth. So it's one of those Jennifer Aniston movies where
yeah.
she always liked the guy who was there all along throughout the movie, but she realized at the end, right? So
Yeah, I totally agree. But sorry, I didn't really take the note of the author you mentioned in your answer, PZ something. Can I have?
that's like that's one of the authors. I think it is Sir PG Bhose, who has written a lot on I think pigs pigs can fly, or something, is pigs don't fly, or something. I don't remember the exact name, but I read it long time ago. He's
Yeah,
one of my favorite authors, by the way. So
yeah.
he writes comedy, actually. It's funny to read what he's writing. Yeah.
Yes, and also like when you know learn about science, and when you actually unravel and like really be curious about science, it opens so many perspective. And like knowing about a space, and knowing about a space in more details definitely has helped humans in several different ways, but also to know that how insignificant our life is as compared to all this universe. So it definitely has bigger meaning other than just like science and like survival. So I want to ask you another question. Do you think there is any relationship what you learned at IST and astrophysics? What is like, if I can answer, what is astrophysics, because it sounds similar to what you have just told me.
So yeah, so like I can tell you one thing very frankly, that there are two three stages of learning. One is the Kruger effect, which is when somebody knows very little of something. They don't know. They think that they know a lot
Mm-hmm.
because they don't know the huge amount they don't know, right?
Yes.
So there are two stages, right? One is ignorance and one is unknowing. So ignorance is when you don't know that you don't know, right?
Yes.
You have no idea how much you don't know, right? So that
Yes.
is the second one is when you know I don't know a lot of these things. These are the things and I don't know them, right?
Yes.
So when it comes to astrophysics, I would say I'm in the unknowing, and IST has removed that Kruger effect and ignorance about that. So I know a little bit of astrophysics. I have a lot of friends who are great astrophysicists of in their own realm, but I myself am not a great astrophysicist. However, I love astrophysics as much as I think guess you do, right?
Yeah,
So,
because one of my
I want to add, yeah, if you allow me to go ahead, I would like to add a few points here. I think like I was reading this thing recently that there is a shlok called Om Kham Brahman, which
I've
means
never
Om
heard
means,
of. Yeah.
yeah. So Om means actually the space. Om Kham Brahman is space is Brahman, right? Which means space is the first requisite of anything else. Okay, and you can find a lot of manifestation of this even in Buddhist philosophy of Shunyavad and other things. So what I meant to say is that uh, space is one of the biggest level of thought that you can conceive. Thinking about space is one of the most liberating cognitive activities that a human being can do. Just to imagine the immense, vastness of space is so liberating. And as you mentioned, our lives seem so little. And I would not say our lives seem so little. I would say our troubles seem so meaningless when you think about, and that is what is one of the most attractive things about the whole thing. It's so exciting to be working field. So my parents used to say think
Mhm.
big, and I have thought of the biggest thing that there is to think about. So I don't think I can go more than that.
Yeah, and I really loved how you put it. You have thought about the biggest thing, and that's so beautiful. But let me tell you, one of my best friends, she was like same major as me, biotechnology. She was like very studious, and plus like very smart human being. She is a smart human being. Why I'm talking in past tense, but like I don't meet her that often, and her love for astrophysics actually got me interested a bit. And she would be a better person to talk to you about all those like things, but but I'll continue that thing later. Let me ask you other question. So as you said, there is no relation between space science and astrophysics. I would,
No,
and I
no, there is a relationship. Obviously, no. What I meant is I'm not an expert of astrophysics.
yeah.
However, I'm aware that I'm not the expert. That much is my knowledge level. I'm aware that there are things and in detail about which I don't know. Right. So space science also consists of a lot of other things. Right. The space technology consists of a lot of other stuff of on which I'm working, but astrophysics is an integral part of space science as such, right? So,
Yeah. The other question that I would ask you is like to have very personal, perspective on your journey. Like, how do you think about yourself, and like, where did you come from? Like, where was your early life? Like, as you said, you were from Bihar, and how did all the things add up to what you are right now? So, do you wanna discuss any
Yeah,
like
yeah.
thing
Sure,
about your
sure.
life?
Yeah, so sure. I had rather a fascinating journey because I was born in Bihar, and from class three I was in a boarding school in Missouri, which is one of the very good places to be educated. It's very green and clean, and it's the schools there in Dehradun and Missouri are fantastic. It's a great environment to be studying in, and I'm really thankful to my parents and for giving me this opportunity. And from then on, I joined the race for IIT for in Kota. So I
Yeah.
was there, and then I think I joined IST after that, from which it was pretty clear. However, I think my journey to being a scientist. Right? So this is the external process, how I was processed into ISRO, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But how I was interested into science was totally something, because it used to rain a lot in Missouri,
Mm-hmm.
and there were days I would spend in library
Mm-hmm.
the whole day, and
Mm-hmm.
our librarian was excellent person who would in fact encourage this behavior. He would let us go to library,
Mm-hmm.
and somehow I came across few books about Newton. It and that book was nothing about science. It was rather about scientists, and it was just describing the life stories of scientists. And there was Isaac Newton and Galileo and Copernicus, and so many more.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I spent so much time reading about them, and I think I didn't realize when I was trying to become one of them. So it seems very weird, but when people say they want to become, a scientist, or children how to become scientist, I think it's not the science. For me, it was rather the scientists, I would say. So I kind of come from there.
Yes, that's good to know, because like, it's not like what you really want to do, but you really wanted to become like scientist. That's what I understand. You didn't think about like outcome it would have, but the only like feeling of being scientist you enjoyed, I think. Am I correct? Like, what were your like thinking when you were thinking about being scientist? Did you ever think about what challenges or what kind of life you would have?
So no, so like I'm like studying in Missouri. I think I speak for all the people who study in my school, that we were taught always to face the challenges head
Mhm,
on, and that's the attitude we were taught to have. And it was kind of tacitly, I would say, they taught us that life without challenges is not a life worth living.
mhm,
So you'll often find the alumni of my school falling head over heels into some challenges or the other. So that is one of the things, I think, on the lighter side. But however, I think uh, the idea for a young kid who is in the library, just randomly looking into stuff, that these are the people about whom so many people have written about,
mhm,
right? So their life must be worth noticing, right? And there are so many people who are dead and about whom it has not nothing has been written, right? So I think that is the more intriguing part that struck me, in the hills of Missouri, was these guys were, what was that thing that they did that actually so many people have invested so much time studying them, right? So not only studying what Newton did, but also studying Newton's thoughts, Newton's social situation, Newton's, all these things. So yeah, before and rather I would like to stress on this, Pravina, that I don't think anybody is actually safe. Like the whole notion of being away from challenges is totally a farce.
yeah, of
Life,
course.
life is not. You cannot get into a position where you're completely safe. And if
Mhm.
you're not completely safe, then being partially safe is as good as not being safe, I would say. Right.
Yes, I would
So
agree. Yeah.
I think that in that totality, it seems to me that looking for a lot of security is actually a useless pursuit.
Mhm.
Rather, looking for something that gives you meaning and gives you, joy, is rather something that I'm more attracted to, right? So, and I would not say that scientists do bad. Like their scientists really do well,
Yeah, they do.
in their life.
Yeah, I would agree. Like I myself, if I can say myself a scientist, I am lead scientist at self.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so yeah,
So
it depends. Yeah.
yeah, I have pretty good life. So I am not saying I face challenges. Of course, like life of I believe personally, and I think all the time that it's not what you actually encounter, but you must live life with a virtue and like with a lot of a lot more sense of doing good. I think that's what my passion comes from. So I would like to ask
I
you.
would also like, I would just like to say one thing, and let me just go out and say it right now. I think it's a very complicated thing that I'm trying to convey here, but doing something in science is actually what I would call a getaway for me, right?
Hmm.
So when you're actually interacting, as if you have read Albert Camus, right? He tells that when human beings actually interact with reality, that is the only point when they realize their existence, which means that human beings actually cannot capture anything about reality, and they always find themselves in conflict with reality, right? And when they try to solve that conflict, right, that is the only point when, from Camus' point of view, they're actually alive, or they're really existing. And when you're doing science, you're actually reacting with the real world. So even if a current is flowing into a wire, right, and you need to control that current, or if I'm doing AI and I need to make a decision, right, that decision has to be taken on based of data of real world, and you have to do real action, right? So that is something that is such a getaway from the rest of my life, which is basically what I would call a social reality, right? Because our personal lives and social lives are very limited in that sense that they are very far from the actual reality. So I don't know how many of the audience are actually getting this, but I feel it's a huge getaway for me to work in the science, because it helps me escape the social simulation we are all part of, right? And at times I find the social simulations very boring, and I somehow connect with the scientists because I understood that they were trying to do the same. If you read their stories, so yeah, that's what is the very interesting for me. I hope some people in the audience can connect to that, and comment that, okay, this guy is not insane, at least.
I would totally get it if my reach is that much. And of course, like I can totally relate to you. And a lot of people who are my friends, we used to talk about neuroscience 3 a.m. in the morning, and we all get you and we have the feeling of knowing and knowledge is such a exhilarating feeling that nothing can replace that. Like to know the reality, the know the science. So for me, all the paths I've taken in my life, whether it is biotechnology or food and nutritional sciences here, so like here, all my like I didn't achieve a PhD which I came for, but I really, really studied very vastly about how our gut works, like how our whatever we eat, how does it end up in the like rectum. So that's like the knowledge, and whatever we eat, how does it communicate with our brain. So I totally get you what you are saying, to know and to unravel the beauty which already exists and to know the science. And as I must say, like I'm very much interested in neuroscience, so I wanted to like pursue neuroscience further. So like when somebody drinks alcohol, how does it how does it impact whole mechanisms in brain, and also like when somebody compliments you, how does it work, what is dopamine rush. So like now a lot of people understand because of the internet, but back when I was like maybe 18 or 20, we used to talk overnight about all these stuff, how we feel and why we feel that. So I'm pretty sure people are going to relate to you. So next question that I want to ask you, what do you think? Like, I think you're a pretty spiritual person, but you believe in science so much. Like back in India, when I saw you, probably like all of my friends and like including my brother and like my sister-in-law, they all are very religious and like spiritual. Do you consider yourself being a spiritual?
No, I don't know actually, but I think um, I try to, I try to have beliefs which are positive. And at certain times, I need to have certain, external, what I would say, help. I think all of us need that. So, like, I process it in my own ways. I am not agnostic to religion, so I do participate in those activities. And I seriously believe that more than religious, it is more cultural. So, there are some traditions and culture in my family which I am very proud and happy to participate in. I don't think that is a sign of not being scientific or something. I think it is. I can totally take it in my stride, along with me being a scientist.
Yeah.
So that is the thing about I. Although I read a lot of things about spirituality and other things, I think the Praveen, just one minute. I think the religious activities that I'm involved in are more cultural
Mhm.
than religious,
Mhm.
in a sense because those religious practices, what are classified as religious, also entail a lot of our culture and traditions, and I'm very happy to shoulder them and take them forward, and I'm also proud of them from that point of view, right? However, something that is anti-social or science would not definitely not agree with me at times, right? But most of the things that are in conflict,
Mhm.
have I think they have already been removed from our religions because we have a very old, civilization. So we have a very distilled and very liberal, religion, I would say. And from that point of view, that is my answer. In terms of spirituality, I try to go through a lot of text on spirituality. I'm trying to understand them yet. I don't think I'm again in the state of not
Mhm.
ignorance but unknowing state where I know I don't know a lot of things. I yet have to experience them, and I try to go that way. Let's see how far we can go in that.
I really appreciate your approach. I think when you know science, you know better that whatever like spiritual practices are there, they are so logical. Like I read about through the internet, I get that what was the meaning of putting bangles, like the women in our culture put like wear bangles, and how it is such so much in conformity with science that we don't even understand, but it is like very scientific, like it helps in a hormonal balance of the women. So I totally get it. But can I ask you another question? How do you keep in touch with your roots back in Bihar while you are working in different city, and like how does it go? Like, do you visit your home often?
That's such a wonderful question that actually I'm not asked generally, and
Mhm.
that's such a beautiful question, and it's a pain that is not addressed. It's very painful. I in fact I don't think I'm in touch with my roots a lot. I
Mhm.
try to be because I've never stayed in Bihar,
Mhm.
and I've never stayed anywhere actually. For a long period of time, and there is a deep sense of rootlessness. And
Mhm.
it's a pain I cannot express. Like it's most people, in fact, I'm afraid that most people will say that it is a very first world problem. You
Mhm.
have this pain of rootlessness, which is like
Mhm.
uh, many people have foodlessness, and I agree that that is more urgent, right? But yeah, obviously, it is there in my psyche. I feel that I belong nowhere almost, and that's very painful, because I have to put a lot of effort to connect back to my roots, and I try to do that a lot. It's difficult. It's definitely difficult, and as a person, I definitely feel that there is no void in that area.
I would totally agree. And the people who have a higher conscience, they can only feel that what you are feeling. And I'm like, I appreciate that you feel that, because sometimes when you talk, like people enjoy life, they be anywhere. People who don't really have a strong connect with themselves, they don't feel that problem, and it's their problem. But I think you have pretty legit question with yourself, that you feel that rootlessness. And
Thank you for legitimizing my problems.
no, because I have that problem too. Nobody understands it. So can I like really wrap this interview? I think I have like asked all my questions.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. And yeah, in fact, if you want, we can go for another. We have 7 minutes, I think, right?
yeah,
So you might find something good there. So
yeah. So I would, as we talked about AI, we talked about your journey to being a scientist, and then we talk about our like own feelings around what we are doing. I would like to ask you another question. Which stage of your life are you right now? At like, how do you feel about what you're doing, and what are your future plans? I really would like to know about that.
that's also a very good question, because these kind of questions are not something you ask yourself also a lot, right? And I think one should. But yeah, that's I would like to put it that I am today more confident than I was a couple of years ago.
Mhm,
And it's not because I know more or I have done more or something. It's just because I have failed more, and I've been successful also sometimes, like with my teammates, obviously, right?
mhm,
So think there is a bit of, I'm at the phase of life where I'm ready to take on life
mhm,
more confidently than I was a little earlier before.
mhm,
I'm also married, and my wife is far away from me, which is also something that I have to deal with. And it's this is again a transient a thing in my life. I'm looking forward that it will soon be solved, because she's pursuing her PhD right now.
mhm,
So from that point of view, yeah. So I spend a lot of time on my work and on my studies.
mhm,
My future plans, I think I'm becoming more and more wise to not make long future plans.
mhm.
I
Yeah.
think that's one of the things that I'm ready to take life as it comes.
Mhm,
However, I'm more and more prepared to give my best, and
mhm,
be my best in the every opportunity that I have. I try to interact with a lot more people now. I try to work on the problems with a lot more zest.
mhm,
Uh, so I'm at the point of my life where I'm transitioning, from a person who was very, I would say less confident and, very cynic also in sometimes, to someone who is more open and, open to life basically. So I really don't have a lot of plans to share, but I have a lot of intention to do, a lot of things for the country,
mhm.
do a lot of things for artificial intelligence, and just give my best to everyone who crosses paths in my life. That's it. That's
That's
only my.
such a beautiful spirit to have. I really applaud that. And also I applaud that you guys are doing like such a great thing. Like, of course, a lot of people are in long distance relationships, but she's pursuing a great like milestone in her life. And I'm pretty happy that and I'm really like I applaud you that like you are such a supportive husband to her. And then only people can pursue big dreams. um, so for this is last part of our interview. I would ask my audience to watch this interview, give their feedback, ask many questions about AI, and that would maybe lead to our second interview about AI. And I wish you all the best, Nitish, for your future projects. And I hope you have blissful life. And whatever positivity you have shared, I'm pretty sure my audience would be thrilled, and would be really receiving that positive energy which you have shared. And thank you so much. And also, I ask my audience to subscribe to my channel. Would you also like to share to my audience that they can subscribe to my channel and watch this video and like this video?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Pravina, for so much for having me. And
Mhm.
I think the discussions were quite good. I also think there is enough, potential to be in a discussion with you next time. So I request everyone, whoever is spending, time on this, the whole base audience of Pravina, to put up, very interesting questions that you feel that can be discussed with me, and I'll certainly be back. And I'm wishing you all the best, Pravina, with this. I'm pretty sure that this will go a long way, given the amount of effort you're putting into this. Thank you so much for again having me, and it was wonderful. Thank you, everyone. Please subscribe to her channel, and if my saying this helps, please do subscribe. I'm going to do it right now.
Yeah, for sure. If you haven't, thank you so much.